Good evening, wet shavers. This is Timmy Two Shaves with the Shaving Tolson, back at it again in my shave den. So you guys can see, this is the new den. Real excited to integrate that into my first review in this space. For tonight's review, it's one that I've really been looking forward to. I want to make sure that I do it justice and do it right, because I know you guys want to make an informed purchase before jumping in. Maybe you've never heard of wet shaving products, WSP. Maybe it's something that's been on your radar for a while. It's just something that you wanted to dive into a little bit more, but you did want to get a little bit more of an opinion, and an informed opinion, before deciding to go ahead and spend your hard-earned money on these products. We're going to go ahead and jump right into this review. This is something that I've been looking forward to because I've had really good experiences with this product. Whether you're looking at their formula, tea base, which is going to be their tallow soap base, or you're looking into their Rustic shave formula, which is going to be their vegan base, you can't go wrong with the soaps. But we're not just covering soaps tonight. We are also going to be looking at their aftershave splashes, aftershave balms, and I was lucky enough to win in a giveaway this decanted tobacco vanilla 80p Cedar Citroen. Now this has been a fantastic soap, and really initially when you open it up, you're hit with two things. You're hit with cedar, you're hit with a very woodsy type scent, very grounded woodsy type scent, and you're also hit with citrus. And I would almost say that you're really hit in regards to the cedar with kind of a wet cedar. Freshly cut cedar that maybe was just in the morning dew. That's kind of the sensation that I get from that. They balance themselves out really well right off the puck. And into the lather, that really seems to carry through as well. Both of them balancing out, neither one of them topping the other. Though definitely with citrus, you do get a little bit more boom with the citrus. What I equated this to on my Shave of the Day pictures and my little miniature impressions and miniature reviews on my Instagram page, The Shaving Tolson, as well. I equated it to my grandfather used to have a woodworking shop in his backyard. And with that, it became one of my favorite scents was to smell freshly cut cedar. He used cedar for almost everything, and it smelled fantastic back there. And if you've ever walked into a place that has fresh planks of cedar, Home Depot, Lowe's, other places, you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. But if you were to just imagine walking into one of these places and you took an orange, you sliced it in half, and you squeezed it out, that is what the smell equates to for me. You've got the surrounding atmosphere of the cedar, but then you've got that fresh squeezed orange scent. It's absolutely fantastic. And honestly, when they were sending these to me, now both of these right here and their matching aftershave and aftershave balm were actually sent to me for review. Now I like to let everybody know that this does not in any way affect my reviews. I'm going to lay it to you guys straight. I'm going to tell you if it's going to be worth your money or not. Because there are products out there that I straight up don't like. You can send it to me however you want to send it to me, but if I don't like the product at the end of the day, I'm not going to tell people, hey, out of all of these artisans that are available out in the market today and all of these options and selections, we all love variety, you should definitely buy this one, even though I personally think it's crap. I'm not going to do that to you. But what I did really enjoy about these, especially the Rustic formula, the vegan base, is it's an incredibly good performing base. The price, I feel, is just right on these. On the aftershave splashes and the soaps, I feel like the price is really competitive with the current market, which many of us view in the market today is oversaturated with so many artisans. But that's the thing with WSP, with wet shaving products, is they've established themselves, they've made a name for themselves. They're not resting on their laurels. They're coming up with really interesting and innovative products and just men's grooming essentials that I feel like is just something that's really nice to have. But getting back to the Rustic shaving soap, this is a fantastic post-shave feel, and I feel like this is really where this shines. And for me, when you are looking at vegan bases, to me a vegan base is going to, in my personal experience, my subjective opinion, is going to reward you with a better post-shave feel than many tallows out there. And it's going to do it with a little less effort than you might typically be accustomed to with a tallow base. With the Rustic shaving soap, the Cedar Citroen, not only is the scent very good, and immediately, once you take the lid off, I'm not holding it up to my nose, but I can smell those notes perfectly fine. not a problem at all. And that really carries itself through to when you're actually building the lather. It's fantastic. The scent projection and the longevity of just the soap itself carries you through the full encompassing, time of the shave. But then it's also just doubled when you apply the aftershave splash. Now, the Cedar and Citroen aftershave splash, I also have the tobacco in the splash as well. What I've seen from both of these is that I get similar projection and longevity out of both of them. You can use these as an aftershave splash. You can use these as a cologne, in my personal opinion. They're just that strong. I have not had any issues with sometimes I'll go out, going out with Tiff to dinner or a movie or anything like that. And if I just want a little bit of added fragrance, or I want something that's going to carry me through those couple hours while I'm going to be out, fantastic. But again, I take this out there with me all the time when I'm going out. And it's just something that's great. You could totally decant this. You could put this in something like the little tobacco and vanilla decanter I have for the EDP. And you could spritz this on while you're at work. Or even better, you could look into getting some of their solid cologne. That's also the nice thing about WSP, is if there's a soap or aftershave scent that you're in love with, chances are you're going to be able to get that in an EDP. You're going to be able to get that in a solid cologne and other peripheral products as well, which to me is extremely important. I mean, you guys can see the sheer amount of product that I have. I don't mind mixing and matching my soaps, my aftershaves, my colognes, other fragrances together. You can get really interesting scent combinations that way. But with that as well, there's just days where sometimes I want all of my fragrances to match. I want to layer my fragrances up so that way I get the max amount of projection and longevity that I can get throughout the day, that can carry me through work, that can carry me through special events or just going out on a date, that sort of thing. It's just nice to know that there's a couple of different artisans out there that are offering that in multiple different lines with this sort of strength. And that's the thing that's also important to me too. If I'm going to be spending my money on a product, I want to know that it's really going to perform for me. And I can honestly say with 100% certainty that you're not going to be disappointed with the performance of the aftershave splash in terms of fragrance. Now, it's your typical aftershave splash. It's going to give you that alcoholic burn that you're typically associated with a splash. It's going to give you that good burn, and it's going to be fantastic. Your face is going to thank you for it. It feels fantastic. In terms of the feel, it's nothing too extraordinarily different than what you're typically used to. It's more of a splash than a skin food. For skin foods, like you can see the whitish liquid back there, the Kootenai Blue, that is by Highland Springs Soap Company. Fantastic skin food type aftershave splash. But it's not your typical alcohol-based splash where you get a lot of the burn. You don't get any of that with that product. If that's something that you look for, might be your ticket. But that kind of leads me into what I also received from them, which was the Formula T Tallow Soap Formula and the Aftershave Balm. And I'm going to go ahead and start off with the balm. Now, when we're talking about barbershop, this is a very classic, very nice barbershop scent. However, what I will say is, in my experience, especially when lathering this up, you get varying scent profiles that stand out to you. I would say this smells a little bit more powdery and more musky, and this smells a little bit more light and refreshing. Slightly different scent profiles on the soap itself, on the Formula T, versus the Aftershave Balm. I actually like the smell of the balm a little bit better than I like the smell of the soap. I do like barbershop scents. My standard typically for barbershop type scents is the Fine American blend. I find that's just a very classic, very iconic smelling splash soap scent. That's American Barber to me. This, in my opinion, is meant to be an homage to your typical barbershop type of experience. And it smells really good. It smells fantastic. Don't get me wrong, it smells great. It is not my favorite barbershop scent though. The performance with the Formula T was not as consistent that I found, in my personal subjective opinion. I put it through a number of different tests. I tested it with various brushes. I tested it with my Badger. I tested it with my synthetics. That's, my Boss Knots, my Plisson type knots. I tested it out with various different types of scenarios with bowls, facial lathers, etc. And I just seem to get a more consistent performance out of the vegan base, the Rustic shave soap, than I did out of the Formula T. Now that's not to say that this is a bad soap. When I did get great performance with this, it was outstanding performance. It was very good. And I've kind of scoped through the community to kind of see what, generally speaking, what people are trying, what they're using. A lot of people really like the Formula T, but this is one of the instances where I see an artisan that offers both products that you actually see a lot of people sticking with the Rustic, that they recommend this to other people in the forums and the pages and the groups, which I think is absolutely fantastic, that we're getting more people that are using the vegan bases. Not to say that I'm against, tallow or anything like that. I have tons of tallow soaps. I love tallow. I'll use tallow all the time. But I've just found that the post-shave and how my face just in general feels during the process, it just feels healthier, it feels better. My face usually thanks me a little bit more when I use a great vegan than when I use tallow base. But good thing is if you don't really know which one you want, both of these are the same price. So the tallow base is going to run you the same amount of scratch as you're going to be paying for the vegan base. And they're both just good soaps. You can't go wrong with either, but if you do have a preference, vegan or tallow, at least you know you're going to be paying the same price for either one. So I did really enjoy the performance of this. I did feel that the residual slickness, the glide of my razor on my face with this soap, as opposed to the Rustic shave soap, honestly, I felt like both offered very similar performance when they were at their optimum. So when I was able to go ahead and get both of them to perform very well, both of them felt very similar to me in that regard. Like I said, the little things that you start noticing after you've been shaving for a while is in the post-shave. In the post-shave is what really stands out to me when I'm looking at soaps. Generally speaking, I can get a soap to provide me good glide. I can get a soap to provide me good initial slickness, because you've got that lather, that initial slickness, the first time that your razor is grazing that part of your face with lather. That's what we're talking about when we're talking about initial slickness. The residual slickness, what we're talking about there, is once the lather is gone, once you don't have any lather, can you blade buff? Can you go over those areas multiple times because it's still slick? Or is there not much residual slickness to speak of? There's a few soaps out there that are like that, but when you're looking at something like the Rustic shave soap, for instance, the vegan base, and then like I said, when you really whip up and you take your time loading your brush with some Formula T, you're going to be rewarded with some good residual, but you're also going to be rewarded with a fantastic post-shave. And to me, those are the things that are really standing out in the community now, is the market so saturated with different kinds of products. The tricky thing is where do I spend my hard-earned money? And in my opinion, you can't go wrong with WSP. They've just got so many various products. And the cool thing about them is that you know that if you fall in love with a specific scent, you're gonna be able to get that in typically an EDP, and you're gonna be able to get that in a solid cologne, which are huge to me. That's huge. Not every artisan does that, especially a lot of the newer and startup artisans don't do that. I've seen a lot of people starting to dabble in solid colognes, thank goodness. It's just nice to know that I have that discreet option, and more artisans are starting to embrace that, and power to the people, man. That's awesome. I love that stuff. But speaking of, I've got a little decanter here, which is also a nice discreet way to carry fragrances around with you. If you're someone that does like to spritz on product multiple times throughout the day, maybe just whatever product you're using is not carrying you through the full workday, or maybe you just, like me, I'll go on a walk for my lunch breaks. I'll get to work usually an hour early to walk, so that way I can get my exercise in. You're going to be wearing off that fragrance, and you're going to get, maybe a little bit nasty. So maybe something like a decanted bottle is going to be good for you. Get a couple of these. Take your favorite EDP, or maybe even something like this that has enough potency to be a cologne. Put it in your decanter. You're good to go. And that's just one of the things that I really like about this. I can tell you this smells fantastic. When you use it in conjunction with something like the tobacco, that vanilla does something extra. It really just smooths out the accord and just makes for this really nice smoothing touch. I feel like with WSP, there's a couple things that you're going to see that each artisan does something different with. Whether that's their take on barbershop, their take on bay rum, their take on a tobacco-forward scent. Even lavender, too. A lot of these namestay scents, everybody has a slightly different tweak on. With WSP, I feel like the tobacco, like I said, I also had that in the splash. Just the straight tobacco is very tobacco-forward. And I really like that because tobacco is one of my favorite scent notes in a soap aftershave splash. But it's pretty potent. And it's definitely strong and in your face with the tobacco. So if that's something that you like, highly encourage you to go ahead and check that out. But if you want something that's softer and smoother while still remaining very strong, has a lot of longevity as far as it's going to wear with you throughout the day. Usually I can get a good 8 hours from their EDPs, from this little decanted bottle here, and I'm good. So if you like tobacco, look into the tobacco vanilla because this will get you through a full 8-hour workday. Not a problem at all. This is no slouch, and it's one of my favorite scents. It sent me a couple of body soaps as well in these particular scents, and I also have, I wish I would have brought it with me on camera. It's actually back behind the camera over there. I think they call it Gaelic Tweed, and it's fantastic. It's their homage to Green Irish Tweed. It is fantastic. It's probably my favorite take on Green Irish Tweed. The Gaelic Tweed that they offer is absolutely fantastic. It's so smooth. It smells great. That's definitely a product that I'm going to be buying from WSP. But I hope you guys really enjoyed the review today. Was there something that I didn't address that you really wanted to know about? For instance, like the balms. Is there more that you would like to know about the balm? What I can tell you about this is that it does feel fantastic on the face. Did it absorb into my skin and feel as good as, let's say, something like Zingari Mint, for instance? That balm is my absolute favorite because I can use that almost as a substitute whenever I just have dry skin. I can just apply that throughout the day and I feel fantastic. Same with their beard oil, does the same thing. But with this aftershave balm, the scent was different. One, with this, there's definitely a difference in the scent. Two, I do like how it actually squirts out into your hand. I don't like sitting here trying to dump out some of these balms. That can be a real pain in the rear. Zingari Man does the same thing where they've got a squirt nozzle that can squirt in your hand. I feel like that's perfect for this purpose here for balms. And it's just in a really nice carry package. If I want to take this with me pretty much anywhere, I'm not going to have a problem with that. But with the balms in general, what I typically experience with a balm, it's one of the reasons why I typically prefer a splash, is I get really oily and really slick feeling to my face. And my face already gets really oily in general, which is weird because my cheekbones right here and my nose get very dry, like skin crackling dry. So I have to take care with special product to make sure that that's not a noticeable thing. With this, it just adds on to that oily feel to my face. So it's not one that I typically reach for. If you've been looking at my Shave of the Day posts, stuff that I typically use over and over, you don't see this very often. I love the scent on this. It's not anywhere near as strong as the Aftershave Splash. This is incredibly strong, and I love it. I absolutely love it. More artisans, in my opinion, need to have stronger scents. I feel like in such a saturated market, oversaturated market, we need people to really stand out and showcase the scents that they've taken the time to come up with. Don't be afraid or shy to do that. You're always going to have somebody that's going to say, oh, well, I don't want a lot of strong fragrance or scent. Well, then offer the unscented line. And they can mix and match and kind of, water down the scent if that's something that they're interested in. But I feel like the majority of us that are buying a product for the scent want that to project. We want that we want to show that off. We want to showcase it. Now, we don't want to fill up the room with our scents, but we want anybody in our immediate vicinity to be like, man, they smell fantastic. If we're going through the trouble to go ahead and put that scent on, we want other people to know that this is a fantastic product and they're going to ask about it, and then we can be like, hey, go to Wet Shaving Products. Their Aftershave Splash is what I'm using today, and I think you'll like it. If you like what I'm wearing right now, then there's a couple things I think you're going to like with them. But the balms, pretty run-of-the-mill from what I've seen. It's very similar in performance, in my opinion, to Sterling soap companies. I feel like Sterling Soap's Aftershave Balm is stronger projection and stronger longevity, but the feel is very similar. It's very similar. But anyways, guys, what do you want to see next? Let me know. Thank you so much again for your support. You'd have no idea how much it means for me that you guys continue to want to see this content and see a guy just talk about soap and men's grooming products. But I will be talking to you guys later, and let me know what you'd like to see for the next video. I've still got more products to review, maybe even reviews that I would like to redo in the studio. Now that I've got the right equipment, I've got a great sound system right here next to me. I've got great lighting. I've got a great space that looks captivating and interesting. I want to utilize it. But if you guys aren't following me on Instagram, speaking of, feel free to do that because I often do live videos on my Instagram channel as well. But thank you guys so much. Hope you have a wonderful night, and I will be catching you later on the next episode of The Shaving Tolson.